Hey, what's up, Olivia? It's Russell Allen. Just want to give a shout out to all you guys down there. I can't wait to come to South America. We will be there very soon, probably end of spring, May, maybe something like that, June.
And we will be kicking your ass.
Tonight, darkness will shadow the light. Symmetry divine, there's no force greater. Divine all the powers of time. Tonight, darkness will shadow the light. Paradise unite for balance of ages. Forever lost in time.
Symphony X are pretty much the only power metal band with fucking balls. And they're the only prog metal band that's not robotic garbage. Sure, they're technical. And sure, they're very technical. But they actually write music that's worth listening to. It's classical, and it has some great tasty fucking riffs. It's no secret that Symphony X is pretty much a great mesh of two of my favorite bands that I wish I could love a lot more because they're so fucking inconsistent and have problems with them. But what's so great is they take the good elements of both, as in the classical power metal tinges of Yngwie, and the great progressive writing of Dream Theater. But they actually take it to the right levels and get rid of all the stupid dog shit. They take away all the dog shit from Dream Theater, the robotic bullshit and terrible boring live performances of zero energy. No, this band kicks your fucking ass. All of the members dancing around and, you know, giving one hell of a show, kind of like Yngwie did, and that's what Yngwie definitely has above Dream Theater, and what they carried on from Yngwie is that great live, you know, stellar live performances. They're all technically gifted, just like Dream Theater. Another thing that Symphony X does way better than Dream Theater is they actually have a vocalist. Dream Theater has a cat being stomped on in an alleyway that has a bunch of tumors on it. And unlike Dream Theater, they actually have a consistent discography, and they never kick out their drummer towards the end of their discography and pretty much fuck up their entire career and split the fan base in half. And what makes Symphony X arguably a better prog metal band than Dream Theater is, like most people say, Dream Theater is pretty much the prog metal band for prog people, which are nerdy fags with greasy long hair and pimples on their ass. Symphony X appeals to the metal fans, which are the same thing, but Slayer! Now, what do they do better than Yngwie? Well, they do a lot of things better than Yngwie. First of all, they actually keep a consistent fucking lineup. They don't fire every other person because they're a giant egomaniac. In fact, they actually do Yngwie style better. You know, Yngwie did a lot of power metal and classical shit, but he also did it in kind of a hair metal, power metal, heavy metal style, as opposed to going all the way with it, where Symphony X makes it very progressive like classical music is supposed to be. And most importantly, Symphony X isn't based solely by one member that's just a giant beluga whale that's so pretentious and so egotistical that he's basically gobbled up all the other band members and has become a fat, vile monstrosity that he's become a one-man show. No, Symphony X is a fucking band. And speaking of aquatic beluga whales that are super pretentious and fat as fuck, the leader of this band is almost like an Yngwie Malmsteen clone. But once again, it's a fucking band. He may be fat as fuck, but he hasn't gobbled up the other equally talented members yet. We're talking about Michael Romeo, one of the greatest guitar players ever. I mean, his virtuosity is almost as widespread as his neckbeard, for God's sake. So Symphony X formed with a bunch of history and mumbo-jumbo that I'm so goddamn lazy that I don't even remotely want to talk about. If you want some fucking boring history about every little detail about the early days of a band and how Michael Romeo was born and he was bullied as a kid, yeah, story behind the music is over there. Go dive into that bullshit. Here, we review music. Here, we skip all the bullshit. And something happened, and he got people that were great musicians. We'll talk about those musicians. He got the bass player for the first couple albums named Thomas Miller. He got a fucking awesome keyboardist that ends up playing on all their albums and compliments him amazingly, named Michael Pinell. And then Jason Rulio, that pretty much plays on every album except for Twilight of Olympus. And they got a singer that only appears in this album. Now, I did mention earlier how Symphony X obviously has a better vocalist than Dream Theater. I mean, is that even a vocalist? I mean, it's even been confirmed that John Petrucci deafens Labrie in the fucking mixing of their live performances so he doesn't have to hear the fucking dying cat. But through most of the discography, they have one of the greatest metal vocalists of all time, Russell Allen. A guy that almost died recently in a car crash, which would have torn me the fuck apart. Because this guy is not even a screamer. For a power metal band, this guy is actually pretty much a mid-range bluesy vocalist that you would have expected maybe Yngwie would have hired, along the lines of like Mark Bowles or Jolan Turner. But sadly, with the first album, we're stuck with a mediocre, generic, flat, boring vocalist by the name of Rob Tyler. It is always stated and never argued that the first album is the weakest. But I don't think it's that bad. I mean, the vocals suck balls, but the songs on it are pretty good. So let's dumpster dive straight into Symphony X, the first album.
Save us from this masquerade of lies. Kings and fools die in ridicule. Save us from this masquerade of lies.
You know, debut productions always sound like complete ass. They're usually recorded in some sort of cardboard box of sorts, especially early thrash albums. But this is even worse. Boys and Men, this album was recorded in a fucking Tupperware container, and it really fucking shows. This has got to be one of the flattest, weirdest productions I've ever fucking heard. But even with all the terrible problems and the terrible vocalist, there's still great songs in this album. But there are still shitty songs, of course. I think it starts with one of its worst fucking songs, Into the Dementia. Fuck that noise. And Shades of Grey. Now look, I love almost every Symphony X song. I'm a huge fucking Symphony X fan. But there are two songs, only two songs from Symphony X that I cannot stand. One of them being a song that a lot of people actually like, and we'll get to that in a second. Another one being This Righteous Turd, the worst song they ever fucking wrote. A ballad that's boring as hell, goes nowhere. It has a sort of decent melody in the chorus. We're like, oh, that's cool. That's kind of different. So they're like, you know, that's nice that you like it. Let's play it like 5,000 fucking times and ruin the goddamn thing.
I don't know why my heart keeps calling, but I really don't want you to stay. I had my reasons to keep from falling, and cast me into shades of grey.
But every other song on this album is saved by the riffs. Michael Romeo fucking slays on this album. The Raging Season, fucking Masquerade, Absinthe and Rue, so many great songs. Taunting the Notorious, Rapture or Pain, fucking awesome riffs. But one of the best songs in the album is when they start showing off their prog side. In these early days, they're pretty much just power metal. I have no idea why anyone would consider them progressive metal. I'm looking at you, Wikipedia, you stupid fuck. This song is a great epic, but it's not nearly as good as the rest of, you know, the epics on their discography, but it really showed what they could do after this point. So that's that album. So let's move on to the other shit that people actually want to hear about. So that vocalist gets his ass kicked to the fucking curb. Thank God. They should have took him out back and shot him with a fucking shotgun. But of course we get Russell Allen. And the next album here is actually my second least favorite, but it is a great album. And this album onwards, they keep getting progressively better, which leads me to a problem I'm going to have with you viewers and Symphony X fans. A lot of you guys are more big fans of like the power metal era, like the first half of their discography, right? I actually prefer the heavier side of their discography, where they get a little bit more progressive, a little bit heavier. But I do love the power metal era too. It's just I think the riffs and shit and the songwriting got better. And so we get into my second least favorite album, an album that is still fucking amazing, the Damnation Game.
If you dare play the game, your descent preordained from their fiery throne, singing cursing your name on the terrorist feet, breathing fire and reek, watch him just as you bleed.
Now, even though it is amazing, I do have a few problems with it. The ballad song Whispers is monotonous and torturous, and some of the choruses in this album are kind of iffy. I mean, they have great verses that are great chugging riffs, and Russell's just giving a great gruff vocal delivery. But some of these choruses sound really awkward. You have Secrets, Dressed to Kill, Haunting. Some of the vocals in the chorus just sound a little off-putting, but they're still good songs. Of course, it starts with the great Damnation Game, which is some crazy fucking power metal out the ass. It sounds like Yngwie Malmsteen to worship. But the most notable songs on here are the two epic songs. Of course, you have one of the fan favorites that's very weird. It almost like doesn't start at all until way later into the song with a lot of instrumental build-ups. But once it gets to those main parts of the songs, the verses and choruses, it really shows up what he can do. Because his vocals in this album are pretty primitive, but on the epics here, like The Edge of Forever, his vocals are on point.
Close your eyes on the edge of forever. A chance to dream. Fast asleep, your nightmare ends.
Now, what's weird is the other epic at the end of the album is actually in two parts. You have like a weird instrumental intro to it, or A Winter's Dream Prelude Part 1. But then you have A Winter's Dream The Ascension Part 2, which is the real song. And this song is super underrated. When it kicks in, the riffs on it are so badass. This is one of their best written songs, and it's by far the best thing on the fucking album.
I'm here, captured by light. My spirit rides through the night. And if I dream to wake, will it embrace me?
Definitely a better epic than A Lesson Before Dying, and definitely a better album than Symphony X. But like I said, they just keep getting better and better and better. A lot of people are going to ask, what album should I start with Symphony X? And I'd say pretty much anything from this next album here, The Divine Wings of Tragedy, onwards, because I love that whole era. In fact, I love the heavy prog stuff more. But I would say that the most palatable, easy to get into album is definitely going to be this one. Even though it's not my favorite, and in fact, I fucking hate a song on it, it is definitely a place that you should start. The Divine Wings of Tragedy.
Passing through the void, the darkest grand illusion. Chaos riding on the way. Destroyed in agony, they create a mad layer. Summon all the evil cloud.
So The Divine Wings of Tragedy is a crazy fucking album. I mean, everything on this is blistering, crazy progressive power metal at its best. I mean, come on. Even just the first three songs alone are just insane, short, punchy, crazy, fucking spider webbing, technical riffage. Jesus Christ! And then you have like a great epics on this album. An epic ballad known as Accolade, one of their best songs, and this is really where Russell Allen's voice comes into his own, because in the last album he was getting all raspy and kind of weird and kind of primitive, but on this album he is a true vocalist, especially on this song Accolade, one of his best vocal performances of all mother trucking time.
On the field, with silence, shield amidst the dead, of dying men's wails.
Of course, you also have great moments of his voice like Candlelight Fantasia, you know, Pharaoh, he does some weird shit on that song. And then, of course, you have the epic 20-minute Sweet Divine Wings of Tragedy, which is one of their best songs. But I must say, compared to even some of their later epics and the other suite that comes later down the road, it's not as good, but it's pretty fucking good. And then we have the two most interesting songs of the album. I told you that there's one other Symphony X song that I fucking can't stand, and then everything from this point on is smooth sailing. Well, a lot of you guys are gonna hate this, but I fucking hate a song on here, and it's The Witching Hour. It's perfectly fine and cheesy, cool power metal until you get to that chorus. The Witching Hour! But this album also has arguably one of my favorite Symphony X songs on it. A song that has a crazy infectious groove to it. On this song, Russell Allen really shows how he can stretch his voice. He's hitting some high notes. He's hitting some really grumbly low notes. He's really coming into the character. He is just on fire. On fire on this song. A song that has one of the greatest intros of all fucking time. Once you hear the keyboard go ape shit, and then it goes into that crazy, groovy, odd time signature, you know this song is going to be a hell of a song. The Eyes of Medusa. And speaking of odd time signatures, I would love to note that Symphony X are one of the very few bands that are able to incorporate a lot of odd time signatures, but then somehow mix that with like a great groovy riff that's even just as technical, and still have a groove to it that's really catchy and not jarring. I have no idea how the fuck they do it. But then we get to the next album, which a lot of people think is weaker. I think it's actually more consistent. I think that the best moments are not as good as the best moments in the Divided Wings of Tragedy, but like I said, it is consistent. There's not a single song I dislike on it. I love every fucking song. Twilight and Olympus. Even though I do love every song on the album, I do have two nitpicks with it. One, the original drummer that plays on pretty much every album other than this one is not on this album, obviously. We have some guy named Thomas Walling. I want my classic lineup, you know what I mean? So that, I mean, it doesn't really hurt anything. It's just a slight nitpick. And then there is another problem. The album starts with a song that's too good for its own good. Smoke and Mirrors is one of their absolute best songs. It is the song to get into this band with. It's blazing fast. It's incredibly catchy. It has one of the greatest choruses I've ever fucking heard. It's brilliant, but it's so good that it overshadows just about every song on the album. Nothing is nearly as good as this song. And it's really the only song I'd take off this album as like, this is like one of their standout songs, where every other album after this point has like multiple songs that I'd say were my favorites. This one is really the only one off the album that's one of my favorites, but we do have great songs on it. Church of the Machine is a great symphonic epic song. And speaking of epics, we also have Through the Looking Glass, parts 1 through 3, a really lengthy epic that's actually more of a ballady epic. However, there are a lot of songs that do follow in the footsteps of Smoke and Mirrors, but just not as good. We have In the Dragon's Den and The Relic, which are really great, short, punchy, fucking kick-ass songs.
Carry on into the horizon, wielding courage, staff in hand. Journey on through shadows and dreams in what lies beyond the Guardian's Key.
What's funny about this era, Symphony X had actually never even played live until this album. The whole fan base and metal scene thought these guys were just fucking robots, or like Dragon Force, where they just comprised all their music on a fucking computer and they all were basically cheating, and that's why they never toured. But boy, when they strode out on stage for that first time, everyone was blown the fuck away when they played everything just as they did on the album. But then Symphony X would release their very first concept album. An album that, if I was forced to, at gunpoint, say what's the best Symphony X album, because like I said, I pretty much love the heavy era of Symphony X, I would actually not pick one of those albums. I would actually pick the album that's in between both worlds, because it picks all the perfect things from both era. It has just enough heavy, just enough power metal, just enough classical, just enough progressive, without it being forced down your throat. And it's extremely creative, and nothing else is like it. It is their most unique, well-written album that they've ever made. And for some bizarrely retarded reason has a score on Metal Archives that doesn't even closely relate to how great this fucking album is. If I was forced at gunpoint to pick the best Symphony X album, it would be V, or 5, the new Mythology Suite.
Here we are, children of sun and stars, the first to love and to understand, living by the law of the ages, prophets and sages, forging utopia.
As stated, everything about this album is set up perfectly. There are several pieces of classical music that are sampled throughout the album to deliver great, intros and transitions from songs, and I usually hate stuff like that, but it works so well here, and the delivery and arrangements of all the songs are so great. I even really like the production. It sounds so unique. The concept of this album is about Atlantis, which is weird because it has a lot of stuff to do with Egypt and fucking Olympus and the Greek gods. I don't know what the fuck they were smoking. The keyboardist Michael Pinella, I believe his name is pronounced, does a really great job on this album. He even does backing vocals on a lot of the songs. And like I said, the writing is on fucking point. Want some badass power metal? Evolution, Fallen, Absence of Light, A Fool's Paradise are great, short, punchy songs that are very catchy. You want epic ballads? You get epic ballads. Communion and the Oracle, one of their goddamn best songs.
Night and day will find a way to keep the balance true. Let the sky and stars be your guide.
You want a short, heavy motherfucker to headbang to? Well, step on over to the Bird Serpent of War / Cataclysm.
Our flames will go for good works and our terror reigns supreme. Darkness that is my feeling, my crashing tearing down your dream.
Want some creative prog? Go to Egypt, one of their weirdest, coolest songs ever written.
Gaze in the eyes, my child, and see, here by my side, you're destined to be.
And if you want that all to culminate together in one epic song to end this amazing album, you get it. The song Rediscovery, the new Mythology Suite, was actually based off of parts for a suite that they actually wrote for the last album. It was actually supposed to be a track called Twilight and Olympus. However, the song Rediscovery became all the best parts of that song. It really feels like it because every riff, every moment is so fucking great, making it one of their absolute best goddamn songs.
Fools who look for answers in the rhyme, seeking out the lie and illusion. I am the future.
But even though every moment is amazing, I do say the best moments are actually the two really catchy, badass power metal numbers that are back to back towards the end of the album. Absence of Light and Fool's Paradise. Both these songs are my favorite Russell Allen vocal performances because he absolutely destroys any vocalist Yngwie ever fucking had with some of the greatest bluesy delivery I've ever heard. Fucking annihilates even Joelyn Turner, especially on my favorite Absence of Light.
So falls the night, the darkest hour. Seek and find all the secrets left for you. Absence of light, unbalanced power. Only then will you know. We lift the mast and stand together one and all. And when the flames grow dim, look within, unleash the fire.
The Odyssey is a very divisive record for Symphony X, and so are pretty much every album after this point. Like I said, a lot of people only like the early power metal stuff, and I actually used to be like that. I mean, I'll be honest, I fucking hated this album when I first heard it. I fucking hated it! I hated the fact that it was really heavy and not that catchy. The keyboards are very much buried in the mix. It's very riff oriented, and the production sounds like ass, but the songwriting is so amazing that it makes up for all of it. I mean, come on, we have classics like Wicked, Inferno, fucking Accolade 2, which is just as good as Accolade 1. But the two best songs are towards the end. You know, everyone talks about the Odyssey, and even the first couple songs, and y'all, that's perfectly fine and justified. I mean, come on, the Odyssey is one of the greatest songs ever fucking written. But there's a song that nobody talks about. The second epic on this album, towards the end is one of their best songs, and no one talks about it. It has a cool little build up to it, but once it gets heavy and it starts going somewhere, holy shit, that is a great groovy fucking technical riff, and has some amazing vocals on it. Awakenings is super underrated, and you must check it out.
Would've beens and could've beens, they waste my days away. The colors of my life dissolve and fade to gray.
But of course, the Odyssey, come on. This song is fucking fantastic. It blows the divine wings of tragedy away. Every part of it's amazing. Russell Allen's on top form. He's the champion of Ithaca. Just every part of the suite is memorable from the first time you hear it. Every part is memorable. Just, it's amazing.
Seems like forever, my eyes have been denied. Home, I've dreamed of home. I've been 20 years away from all I ever knew. To return would make my dreams come true.
But like I said, it was a bit divisive. A lot of the fans loved it, but a lot of the fans fucking hated it. But they decided to double down for the rest of the discography and continue to go down that route. But of course with a better production from this point on, because the next bunch of albums, all the productions would be very modern, very clean. But even though I hate modern production, I think they do a damn good job with producing these albums, and they sound really good. But the next album would actually go a little bit heavier and include keyboards to make a very fucking heavy power metal album, Paradise Lost.
When you demo stuff, how much do you keep for the actual...
What?
Oh God.
What?
You gonna tell him?
What, the demo stuff?
Yeah, Mr. I'm going to make the pre-production sound better than the album. Dude, he goes. It's like, he can't, I gotta,
Yeah, but-
stop. Please.
But you...
Stop.
Because you want to have an
I
idea. of what
know,
it's gonna
but your
be.
ideas are
and
like...
even you,
oh,
you're driving home and
I
it's in
know.
the car, you're like, wow, this sounds great, dude. You know, you're on the phone.
Yeah, but then I say my next sentence is, how the fuck are we gonna pull this off, you know?
Fly with me forever high, and with these wings we'll set the world on fire. Fly with me through scorching skies, you and I, the lie of life.
I mean, speak of fucking heavy, after you have the intro to the album, you have Set the World on Fire, some of the greatest riffs they ever wrote. Domination, Serpent's Kiss, these fucking opening tracks just demolish you. And you have one of their most iconic and best songs in the epic ballad known as Paradise Lost. I don't think it's as good as everybody says it is. Like, everyone's like, it's the best fucking song they ever wrote. I don't think that, because I like my fucking Symphony X groovy and heavy. But for their ballads, it sure is a fantastic fucking song.
Looking down from the ethereal skies, silent crystalline tears I cry, almost say their last goodbye to
But then once you get to the second half of this album, you have a bunch of super underrated songs that just absolutely destroy. Symphony X on top form on every song. They show off the power metal and the heavy and fast and intensity at full form. You have Eve of Seduction, crazy fast. The only exception to this crazy speed fest that the second half of this album comprises of is the song Sacrifice is a ballad, so that doesn't count, but we're talking crazy fucking epics on it. Crazy epics that are fucking relentlessly heavy. And there's no better song to illustrate the crazy fast intensity of power metal blistering riffs and keyboards like the song 7.
It's fire and ice, make the sacrifice. No one there to catch you when you fall.
There's one more song I want to note, and that's another epic song towards the end of the album that I think gets ignored a lot, and it's one of my favorite songs from them. Maybe even my favorite song off the whole fucking album. It's just so groovy, epic, and badass. We're talking The Walls of Babylon. Unlike Odyssey, though, Paradise Lost actually had a better approval of the fans and was definitely a little less divisive. In fact, even when I used to hate Odyssey and later Symphony X, I did really like this album because it was very much really heavy power metal, which is really much what brought the fans in to begin with. I mean, this album even had a lot of commercial acclaim. They had singles, they had music videos. They were appealing to the modern power metal scene, which was garbage. But like I said, this band had fucking balls, and they really drew in a fan base from people noticing that. But the next album, they would keep doubling down on the heavy. The next album has almost no power metal at all. It's actually very much technical progressive metal. An album that's very weird. Their most robotic technical album, but robotic in a good way, because we have nothing but heavy motherfucking songs that are just absolutely relentless. Another concept album called Iconoclast.
We are strong. We will stand and fight. We are strong. We will stand and fight.
The concept of Iconoclast is about people being converted into machines and shit. I mean, it's kind of silly, but it's kind of cool and unique, and every song kind of portrays that concept. The album had incredible critical acclaim, but like I said, this era of the band is very divisive, and this album was their most divisive. Almost every Symphony X fan that I know that only likes the power metal era thinks this is their worst album. But a lot of people that love the prog metal era hold this up as one of their best albums, and I hold this up as one of their best fucking albums. I mean, come on. The songs on it are amazing. It starts out with my favorite Symphony X song ever of all time, the title track Iconoclast. I mean, come on, that shit is insanely catchy and incredibly well written.
Rise of the one, oh, the dark iconoclast, forging the cult of fear, with legions unsurpassed.
And we just have amazing song after amazing song. Heretic, Bastards of the Machine, Electric Messiah, Prometheus, and the heaviest motherfucking song on the album that a lot of people make fun of, a lot of detractors make fun of. He says, pull the switch, you son of a bitch. That's cringy. I don't even fucking care. This song is so damn groovy and catchy. It is a staple from this fucking album. Dehumanized.
Tap the vein, enchant my brain, and let the poison flow. Torn apart, you're ripping out my heart. It's painless, let it go. Come on, hit the switch, you son of a bitch.
It's such a heavy fucking album. I mean, you have like no time for ballads except for the very end of the album when it hits you with an epic ballad. One of their best songs ever fucking written, When All Is Lost. Such a great song. And one other song that is sort of balladish, but only in the chorus. The rest of the song is just really fucking heavy. When it gets to that chorus later in the song, it kind of comes out of nowhere, and when it does, oh, it is pure euphoria. It is one of the greatest choruses they ever written. We're talking about Children of a Faceless God.
Can't you see, you and me, we're children of a faceless God. Misery's our destiny, we're children of a faceless God.
There's some versions of this album that actually come with a couple bonus tracks that would actually make the album a double album in totality, and I think those bonus tracks are pretty damn cool. I'd say they're not as good as the rest of the album, but, you know, I guess they should have included them because they're still really good songs, and it would have been cool for this album to be a double album. But it's very good to know that this band filters out their material to have the best of the best. Before they'd go on to their currently last album, they actually had a problem with their drummer. Jason Derulo had like a heart attack during the Iconoclast tour. They had to cut it all short and had him recover before going in to record the final album, Underworld. But boy, does he come back in full form, and so does the rest of the band. I mean, you could really argue in many ways that this last album, Underworld, is their very, very best album. So let's jump right into it.
Rise and fall, although I fight like hell, there's just no certainty. My battlefield may scar with empty victories. Running from the past, from a lifetime of lies, but the legend never dies.
The performance is perfect. The vocal performance, some of the best vocal performances from Russell Allen ever put to a fucking tape. The production, flawless. It's modern, but it sounds so well made, and there's so many overdubs. It sounds fan-fucking-tastic. The keyboards really come back to deliver power metal melodies that were missing from the last release. And the power metal keyboard work that Michael Piniella delivers on this album is his best work ever. He adds amazing stuff over these fantastic fucking riffs. Boy, are these riffs great. Michael Romeo really delivered on this album. I think he wrote like almost all the lyrics and almost all the songs. He was really kicking ass with this album. And they said when they wrote this album, they were focusing on making it like an album that was extremely palatable, but they also were being very, very cautious about writing it. They were making sure that every song was perfect. They were writing and focusing on each song individually, making sure that every part of the song was perfect. Each riff was great. But what's new about this album is that they actually introduce a bit of a commercial edge. The choruses are not even like power metal, they're almost like a little pop, but I think they actually make it fucking work. I mean, Nevermore has some crazy goddamn guitar playing in that chorus, but it is undeniable that that chorus is extremely catchy and extremely easy to get into.
Strike a chord, the walls of silence fall. Nevermore.
Without You is a very, very, very catchy ballad song. I mean, come on, Run with the Devil, that shit is crazy Symphony X, but equipped with a pop chorus. It works in every single way.
I'm on the run, nowhere to turn, there on my heels, lost in the maze. Where do I go? Am I insane? It's just a game of life or death. Stay the course and ride the flow.
The riffs on this motherfucker are crazy, only delivering you with two ballads, Without You and Swan Song, to give you time to have amazing chugging riffs on every other fucking song. Kiss of Fire, Underworld, these songs destroy, but nothing smashes your head in more than this fucking song. But what's funny about it is that it sounds like it should have been the epic, like it has that riff where it's like, ooh, this should have been the long song, but in many ways it exceeds even more from just being a short, punchy fucking song. It gets in and gets out, and it delivers its message. And its message is that it's an evil, heavy motherfucker called Charon. Hell and Back is a fantastic epic and has one of the greatest intros to a song I've ever heard. But of course, all great albums and all great discographies have to come to an end. They haven't made it official that this is their last album. It currently is their last album, but I strongly believe that this might be their last album. And if it is, this is the perfect fucking way to go out, especially with this final song. This song, along with I'll Cast a Shadow by Pantera, say what you want about Pantera, but these two songs are the ultimate ways to end a discography unintentionally. They're like the greatest final goodbyes. We're talking about a song that is just everything about this band in just one final, shorter, punchy fucking song. A great melodic verse with Russell Allen delivering great catchy vocals, a heavy motherfucking bridge, and an amazing power metal tinged chorus. Legend. is the best song off the whole mother truckin' thing.
Feel the light bleeding from a new moon, escape from the hands of doom. Never thought I could change what will be. Ooh, break the chains of fear.
I'm in it for life, man. This is what I do, and thanks to people like you and all the wonderful fans out there that keep me going. It's a tough gig being away from my family, but I'm out there. I'm out here for them too. I'm out here for my kids, and I'm giving every bit of energy I have every night, and I'll always do that till the day I drop, just like all my heroes. Love you, Ronnie. Mwah. Yeah.
That's it for Symphony X. Hopefully they make another album because they are just so consistent, so great. But I'm worried that they might just shit on the legacy because they are so perfect. They have a decent amount of albums, and this is a hell of a way to go out. So I think, in all honesty, I know this is selfish to just say this, but I think they should just cut it off here. They really should. But if they do make another album, I think it'd be very smart to go in a very power metal direction like the early albums, because you want to fish some of those fans back a little bit, and I'd be happy with it. Do another album like 5V, whatever the fuck it's called. But because I love so many of their albums equally and think they're perfect, I'm not even going to remotely try to do mental gymnastics to try to rank these albums worst to best. Fuck that shit. I mean, it's obvious what's worst to best. I mean, come on. How about you, lazy motherfuckers that are watching this video? How about you rank the albums worst to best? I actually want to see what you guys think. What do you think is better, the heavy era or the power metal era, and why? If you dislike the heavy era, you dislike the power metal era, tell me why. I would actually like to hear. Because I'm not doing that, I kind of don't know how to end the video. So, I mean, I guess, you know, this is a good way for me to, you know, leave you guys off, you know. I can't continue anymore, guys. You know, this has to be my last hurrah. You know, like every good sunset, every good rainbow, it needs to reach its crescendo and its climax to have its falling point. You know what I'm saying? When a bird sits in its bird's nest or in a bird pond, you know, it gazes at the sunlight sprinkling its majesty. In time, the bird will hatch its wings and it'll need to fly into the horizon. It'll transcend its beauty into an illustrious flight towards forever. And the mother and father bird are going to be like, but no, Jimmy, we love you. And he's like, but I must go because it is time. What the fuck am I talking about?